Ireland, Emerald of the Isle, such a beautiful country in Western Europe, in a small corner of Europe, an island of a country of an island, whatever you want to assume, of 7 million population, I believe now these days, uh, surrounded by water all across Irish Sea, Atlantic, blah blah blah. An article by Irish Times, one of the leading newspapers in the country, is talking about there's a huge housing crisis. Why there's such a shortage of homes to buy and rent in Ireland? Fortunately, Ireland is one of those countries, for me, which I grew up in. I'm super privileged to be an Irish citizen. I did my schooling there, I went to college there. Super, super proud of being an Irish citizen. Living in Ireland, growing up in Ireland, there's no such thing as a housing crisis, rental crisis. It was a very small, nice, calm, simple, community-minded country. People would do normal jobs, accountants, lawyers, doctors, teachers, earning a decent wage, decent salary, making good money, buying a home, raising their kids, family, XYZ. Such a beautiful place. 2008, something happened in America. Recession. Now, Ireland bear the brunt of the recession in 2012, 4 years later. But due to the austerity measures taken by the Irish government at that time, Ireland was one of the first countries across the world and one of the first few countries as well in Western Europe to basically get out of the recession. Taxes went over the roof. Government spending went down. Ireland was able to come out of the recession. Properties that were worth back in 2007, just before the peak of the boom, the mortgage crisis and subprime mortgage crisis from America. A four-bed home in Dublin, one of the neighborhoods in Dublin, probably 500,000 euros. 2007, it dropped to as low as, 2012, it dropped to as low as 180,000 euros, from 500 to 180. Boom, that's where you make the money. Guess who took advantage of that? The Americans. It's always the Americans. American private equity firms, private equity companies, funds, they just would invest millions upon millions, and the property started rising. Now there's a huge rental crisis, shortage of homes. Guess what the government did? They didn't build enough homes because they just were not sure. Irish government never really experienced something. It's like COVID, basically. We just didn't know what's happening with COVID. We just simply didn't know. We were perplexed, whatever you want to say it. We just didn't know what's going to happen with COVID. We were going crazy. I remember when I was living in Shanghai that time in China. I queued up for 45 minutes to get two masks for my face during COVID days. Now, nobody really cares about the mask. Same thing happened in Ireland. Because Dublin is now one of those world capitals, the marketing is not there yet, so only few people know about this. Chinese, some Indians, mostly the Americans know about the property crisis and they're taking advantage of that. Don't lose out on the opportunity as an investor to invest in Dublin, invest in Ireland, not just Dublin, in Ireland. This newspaper is going to talk about the reasons for the crisis. Number one, government wasn't smart enough that time. Didn't build enough homes. Then what happened was 2010, that's where it gets interesting. One of the very famous world companies, a tech company, started moving there. Then the other one followed suit. Then third one followed suit. So suddenly, FOM was there. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Well, if the top 5 companies of the world are there, then other companies are going to follow suit. Microsoft has been in Ireland since 1990s, I guess, early 2000s. Dell was there. Dell left Ireland to go to Poland. And when Dell left Ireland, Irish GDP dropped by 2%. 2%. Because cheaper labor in Poland. Ireland incentivized by offering a 12.5% corporate tax rate. 12.5%. All these major companies were coming across. Tech companies. Then guess what the Britishers did? Brexit. Banks moved from the UK to Ireland. Credit Suisse was one of the first ones. They moved from roughly about 500, 600 jobs. Guess where the European headquarters of Jaguar Land Rover is? It's a British company owned by the Tata Group, the Indian company. It's in Shannon, Ireland, tax-free zone. That's what's happening in Ireland. Now, again, because Dublin is not the place worldwide known as Dublin, as London, Paris, New York, Tokyo, XYZ, therefore people just don't know about it. All these tech companies are taking advantage of Dublin, of the opportunities. Jobs moved there. Jobs moved there. They're offering salaries which were not heard of in Ireland. A software developer, 75, 80,000 euros. That's a salary that was never heard of in Ireland. When someone is earning 80,000 euros, their standard of living improves. It becomes higher. They want to spend €4 for a coffee. The town I grew up in Ireland, Tullamore, County Offaly, 65 miles from Dublin city centre. Coffee is about 4.90 there, 4.50 or 4.60, something like this. Between €4 and €5. Central London prices in bloody Tullamore with a population of 20,000 people. When I was there, I went there with my mate. I grew up with this guy, who was a schoolmate of mine, also my best friend at my wedding. Himself and his girlfriend and myself. 3 of us, we went there. €22 for 2 croissants and 3 coffees. 22 bloody euros. That's what the market is in Ireland. People are willing to pay. I was willing to pay for it. There's people like me who are willing to pay for it. Because people are earning good salaries. Because of those people are earning good salaries, they're working in Dublin or doing Dublin jobs but working from home. Quality of life, there. Spending money, there. Cost of living, here. Why? Because they're living in peripheral towns, 60, 65, 70 miles, 1 hour, 1.5 hours by train. They're willing to commute 1 or 2 days a week to the office. But then cost is decreasing because they're living in smaller towns. But those people are willing to pay for coffees, their impulse purchases are increasing, their disposable income is increasing. Now they want to buy a home. They're willing to put down, back in the day, $220, $250 was a good price for a home. People are willing to pay $350, $370 for a home. But guess what? The government didn't build enough homes back in the day. Now there's a huge crisis. Even though they are starting to build more homes, but they're not building enough and fast enough. And all the jobs are in the major cities, Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Galway. Mostly Dublin and Cork, the 2 major cities of the country. But not everybody can afford to live in Dublin. So they're willing to live in the peripheral towns. That's where the opportunity is. But guess what? Because Ireland's not a brand, Dublin's not a brand, anybody wants to invest from India, China, Russia, America, not so much Americans, but like all these other Eastern buyers, let's just go to London. The market is dying in the UK, Ireland is thriving.